Hi guys, welcome to the video. This is a recap of the Cambridge Half Marathon 2024, which was my first organised half marathon. If you are new to my channel, you will not know that I created the channel because I'm running an Ironman in October 2024. It's now March 2024. And as part of my training for the Ironman, which is in Portugal, I am competing in various events throughout the year. So the first event, and I suppose first milestone, was the Cambridge Half Marathon. I've also got a High Rocks to do in May, which I've done 6 of those before. I've got a half Ironman at the end of June, and then the final event of the year is the full Ironman in October in Portugal. I have never done a triathlon before. I have zero triathlon experience, and up until this past weekend at the Cambridge Half Marathon, my only experience with running a half marathon was one which I staged myself at a local country park. This video was meant to be a vlog style video like much of my other videos on this channel. However, I got barely any footage of myself in the half marathon on Sunday, and I suppose all the footage that I got leading up to it was good, but it kind of doesn't make sense unless I have footage of the end goal. So what I've decided to do was put some of that footage in this video and also just do a recap of the day and I suppose the days leading up to the event. So with that said, let's crack on with it. Now, the first thing I want to go through, as I've mentioned, is that this is only my second ever half marathon. My first half marathon, I'll put the stats on the screen. I got an hour and 53. I would say I was expecting something like that. Purely just based off of my running over probably the 8 weeks before. I kind of built up to the 13 miles bit by bit. You know, I started off just running 5Ks, then I moved up a few weeks later to running 10Ks. Then I just added kind of a mile a week until I got to that 10-mile mark, and then I decided, right, I'm going to go for the 13 next weekend. So when I did that, I tried to fuel properly. I did a ton of research on nutrition. I'm quite into nutrition anyway, but I did do a ton of research on like gels and things like that. Tested a few gels out, and that was, I suppose, a test run, testing my legs as well as testing nutrition for me to take on both the Cambridge Half Marathon and the Ironman events that I'm running this year. So all went well. I expected an hour 53, and it was a warm-up for Cambridge. Now, what I didn't do prior to the event, to my own half marathon that I did, was carb load. So that is something that I decided to do this time around through, again, watching a few YouTube videos on it. So I started off on the Thursday afternoon with just eating not tons and tons of carbs, not being like completely gluttonous and you know, like a fat bastard, but literally just swapping out some of my other foods for carbs. So I would put in place something like honey with rice cakes instead of maybe a snack in the afternoon of almonds or something like that, and just try and build that up over time. I did, going through the Friday and the Saturday, have a few more meals than I normally would, predominantly carb based, as you'll see from this video, and then that I felt kind of just put me in good stead. Firstly, from a fueled point of view, I had a lot of glycogen in my muscles. I knew that I was going into the race in the best possible form, and also mentally. And because I knew that, I was mentally like confident that I could put in a good performance, and I wasn't necessarily just going to bomb out halfway through the run. So they were the days leading up to the half marathon. I did actually do quite a bit of activity in those weeks, although I tapered down the running. I upped my swimming, so I had a big swim session on the Friday morning, and I had a swimming lesson on the Friday evening for an hour in the evening there. I hit the gym during that week. I did go out and run. So on the Sunday prior, I did a 10K. On the Tuesday, I got in 3 miles. The Thursday, I got in 3 miles. So I just tapered down my running, whereas prior to the week before the Cambridge Half Marathon, I was doing 10 miles at least on a Sunday, possibly a little bit more. I was doing 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 on a Tuesday, and usually like 4 or 5 on a Thursday. So tapered it right down, got the nutrition as well as I could leading up to the event. Planned as well. So planning was part of the plan. So planning for me was important. Even on my test run that I did a few weeks back, where I got an hour and 53, I planned. So I made sure I had my electrolytes ready in the morning. I made sure I had my gels ready. I made sure I had a decent carb-based breakfast to fuel me at least about an hour before I started. So I did that on my test run, so I made sure I did that on my actual run in the Cambridge half marathon, and that actually started the evening before. So I just made sure that all my clothing was laid out, knew exactly what I was wearing in the morning. I knew it was going to be cold, so I took a few layers, although I didn't actually need them. I knew that I needed to hydrate, so throughout Saturday, along with food, I was drinking water, drinking electrolytes, and prior to going to bed on the Saturday night, I had 1,000 milligrams of sodium in an electrolytes drink, and the product I used was by a company called Strava. So I bought their starter pack a few weeks ago. I think I put it in one of my previous vlogs, and I've just been chipping away at it ever since. So I had 1,000 milligrams of sodium for that. I laid out what I was going to take with me, eat in the morning prior to the race, and take with me on the race as well. So I had a Strava rice bar, which was 50 grams of carbs, and I planned to have that directly prior to the race. And then I had 3 gels by Strava again. I was going to plan to have them at the beginning of the race, mile 4 and mile 8. Then also I took with me on the morning of the race just a water bottle with another 1,000 milligram electrolytes tablet in it, and that was to drink on the way to Cambridge, well, St Ives. So then we got the bus into Cambridge, so that was just to sip throughout the morning. I then had a handheld water bottle which I was taking with me on the run. In that I put a Strava carb mix, which was I think another 60 grams of carbs, and another 1,000 milligram electrolytes tablet. With the idea being, I don't want to stop at a water station because I want to push to get a PB in this. It should be straightforward because I've only ever done one other half marathon. It's been a few weeks since, so I have trained slightly harder since to try and get a better time. But I don't want to stop at the water stations. I just want to keep going all the way through and hopefully PB. Now, on PBing, the time I was aiming for was 1 hour and 45 minutes. So that would have been knocking 8 minutes off of my previous half marathon time. I thought it was achievable, and I sat down on the Saturday night to figure out, okay, what paces were I going to need to run at in order to do that. And it worked out that if I started and had a 2-mile warm-up, I suppose, for lack of a better word, I could start the race at about an 8:50 pace for the first mile, bump it down to about an 8:30 pace for the second mile, but then every consecutive mile after that would have to be at 7:50 pace. In my training, I would rarely run below, unless it was like a speed workout day where I'd only do maybe 1 or 2 fastish miles, or fast for me anyway. I would probably be running at around an 8 minute per mile pace, so I knew I was going to have to push it slightly further and a bit harder. Difference being between my training mileage and the half marathon at Cambridge, most of my training mileage is on trails. Most of it is in trail shoes. Now, I did buy a pair of Nike Vaporfly 3s, almost forgot the name then, which I took out on a few road runs recently, but only again 3-4 miles just down the road from me, not on the trails. And so I knew they were a very, very quick shoe. They have a carbon plate in them. They're really, really light, really cushioned, so it takes the impact off your knees, really comfortable, but they're not perfect for everyday training. So that's why I use my trail shoes, because I'm on the trails most of the time. So I knew I was going to be able to run a little bit quicker in the Vaporfly 3s. So I had that in the locker, but I thought it was still a fairly tough challenge, going from a 1:53 half marathon down to a 1:45 half marathon within about 4 weeks. With that said, that was the plan, and I was going to stick to that the following morning. So following morning, Sunday morning, woke up early, got up at like 5 a.m. or something. The missus and the kids were going to come with me to actually film, and like I said before, didn't get much footage of me in the race. But they got a lot of footage of everyone else, as you will see coming on in this video. Managed to get them all up nice and early. I got myself downstairs and I got my usual breakfast. So my usual breakfast is a smoothie with banana, almond butter, 50 grams-ish, 50, 60 grams of oats. I think I put actually more in, just eyeballed it. A scoop and a half of protein powder and almond milk and creatine actually as well. Bashed that in the blender, blended that up, drank that at like 6 a.m. So once I drank that at 6 a.m, I got all of our kit in the car, got the kids in the car, the missus in the car, and we headed off to St Ives. Along the way, I munched on some dates just to give me a few more carbs. Got to St Ives, jumped on the park and ride, which is mental, by the way. I've never been on a park and ride like that. It has its own private road from the park and ride in St Ives to Cambridge, the city centre in Cambridge. I might sound like thick AF by saying that, if that is what park and rides do, but I've never been on a park and ride before. So that kind of blew my mind, and we sat at the front of the bus, up the top, and we were just going down this track as if it was a train track. So that was, you learn something new every single day. So that was really fun for the kids and me. The missus wasn't that, thrilled about that, but yeah, small things please small minds, I guess. So we get to Cambridge, we have to walk from the bus stop to the half marathon site, which isn't far at all. Get there, realise it's on a complete kind of bog and waste ground, and I immediately think I'm about to ruin my brand new Nike Vaporfly 3s, but it is what it is. It's March, sorry, it's not February. It's the beginning of March. It's been pissing down with rain for about 3 months non-stop. So, what can you do? So I had to kind of grin and bear it and just let my brand new Vaporflies get covered in mud. With that said as well, it was freezing cold when I woke up. It was like -2. So the clothing I'd got out the night before, I was unsure whether that was going to be warm enough, and I wondered whether to take leggings with me, or wear leggings should I say. So I took them with me. I didn't put them on for the race. And I'm pleased I didn't, because the sun actually came out and it got extremely warm in the end. So when we got there, like I say, it was probably 0 by the time we got there. But when I got up, it was -2. People walking around in vests, I thought it was mental. Like, there were some people wrapped up in coats, and there were what looked to be pro runners, or people who obviously do half marathons all the time, just walking around in vests. So I thought I just need to man up and get my running kit on. So I got my hoodie and everything off and was just there in my running kit, which was shorts and a Nike dry fit top. So I was a bit chilly, and I was quite chilly because we were hanging around for a little while before the race. Now that's probably quite a common thing in a half marathon, but again, first half marathon. So, or any race, a marathon, half marathon, you're not going to just take your kit off and then get straight on the course. You're going to be hanging around. So we were actually queuing up to get through the gate to go to the start line, and I missed my wave. I wasn't overly panicked about that because I was in red A, and I looked around and there was loads of people next to me with red A bibs on as well. So they clearly missed their start time as well. And it was just one of those things like, oh, you need a nervous wee, or, you need to drop your bag at the bag drop. So it just takes a lot longer. And then I was organising the kids and the missus and stuff like that as well. So anyway, we were queuing up probably for like 15, 20 minutes before I could get into the gate to filter through to the start line. So I was quite chilly. In that time, I had my first gel. So by that time, I'd probably not eaten for maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I got that gel down me, which was a Sturka gel, 30 grams of carbs. It's like an apple and cinnamon flavour actually, and it tasted well nice. So I would recommend anyone to get that. Not sponsored by them, but their nutrition products are great. Anyway, filter through to the start line. There's about 2-3 minutes of the, I don't know what you call him, some guy on the mic talking crap, but trying to gee the crowd up, and he was doing actually a really good job. So everyone was clapping on the start line, all the runners were clapping, all the crowd was clapping, and then the gun went off and away we went. So I then quickly realised that my 8-minute 50 mile that I was going to do could have been a slight problem to even hit that, because we were literally just crawling to start off with. There's so many people on the start line of a race, and I hadn't thought about this, that you're kind of going at a bit at a snail's pace, to be fair. Once we got probably about 100-200 meters into the race, it did start to that group did start to break up, and you could start to build pace. So I'm going to start looking at my phone now to see my splits, but I will put them on screen. So mile 1, it was all about just warming up really, and just getting used to my legs, taking in the sights of Cambridge, which was unbelievable. All the people who came out on the streets, even like on the starting grid, just around the start line, it was amazing. Then you get up to the first corner, and there's all people out there who've come out of their houses and things. It was wicked. Like, the atmosphere was great. So I was really like, my mind was taken off of the run and more focused on what was going on around me. So I was constantly scanning the environment. It was brilliant. I was looking at other people, what they were wearing, how they were doing, and I didn't really have a strategy other than what I said before. But I guess my strategy ended up being picking someone out, maybe like 20-30 foot in front of me, and saying, right, I'm going to catch them up, and then saying, right, I'm going to catch them up. And then I'd find someone who was going at a pace similar to me, and I would be like, right, I'm going to run with this person for X amount of time, until I outran them, or until I picked out someone else in the marathon and caught them up and started running with them. So I found that to be a good strategy, purely because it just took my mind off the race. It took my mind off constantly checking my watch for my pace, although that was something I was doing quite often. But anyway, first mile, like I said, felt really, really slow. It turns out it wasn't. It was an 8:20 pace, so I went off a lot quicker than I thought I was going to go off. Came into the second mile, about an 8-minute pace, so 7:59. Held a similar pace for the third mile, and then I started thinking, okay, feeling really, really good. I've got a ton of energy here, but I still knew at mile 4 my plan was to take that gel. So that is exactly what I did. As we got into mile 4, we got further through the city, got to the first water station, which was at mile 4, and I just took my gel then. Didn't stop at the water station, was sipping on my bottle, my electrolytes and carb powder all the way through. Took the gel, took in more sights. It was actually great to see. At this point, there were way more people on the street than there were even in the start kind of first 1-2 miles, and they all had signs out, and some of them had signs with like power up on them, so you would with like the Toad from Mario on it, like hit this for an extra life and things like that. It was quality. Like, the atmosphere that Cambridge brought to that race was brilliant. So thank you everyone in Cambridge for doing that, because that really spurred me, and no doubt a ton of other people on. So got through that, had my gel, feeling really good at mile 4, cracking on mile 5, 6, mile 7, I actually managed to catch up with the girl who I was chatting with when we were queuing, and she said she was aiming for a 1:45 as well. So I knew I was on pace, or about to be actually faster than my pace, because faster than what I needed to be, because 1, I've obviously been checking my splits on my watch, but 2, I knew she was going for a 1:45. So and she seemed pretty confident she could get it. She was trying to do that last year, and she's gone for it again. So I was like, oh. So I said hi to her, tapped her on the shoulder, said hi, and then I accelerated off. So mile 6, 7, I was hitting a 7:40, 7:37, 7:32 pace going into mile 8. And I remember going into mile 8, and I think we were out in the villages at that point, came down into a village. Mile 8, you hit the second water station, and I thought, okay, so it's not, mile 4, 8, 12. I didn't have a gel for 12, so I thought, okay, I'll hold on till mile 8.5. Again, not really feeling overly tired, but starting to feel it in my knees a little bit. Got to mile 8.5, banged that gel, and it turned out this gel actually was a caffeine gel, which I hadn't really thought about before. I knew it was a caffeine gel, but I hadn't really thought about the effects it might have on my stomach. So as soon as I had that gel, within like 20 seconds, my stomach started turning. Fortunately, I didn't crap myself on the course, and I put it out of my mind. I kind of concentrated, like I said, on people in front of me, trying to get to, catch them up and that sort of thing. As well as all the people coming out of the houses, in the villages, handing out jelly babies, congratulating you, clapping you, and that took my mind off of it. But that is something I need to be aware of going forward. In a race like that, I'm not taking a caffeine gel, no chance, just in case I have a slight mishap. Get through mile 9, and I was actually feeling great. So I was a 7:36 pace in mile 9, and I thought about pushing then. I thought, okay, I think I can really just up my pace now and almost go all out. But I was very disciplined with it. I thought, no, I need to rein myself back in, and that was 100% the right thing to do. So I reined myself back in for mile 10, which was 7:44 pace. Into mile 11. Mile 11, I hit a 7:21 pace, and then as you got into just out of mile 11, going into mile 12, there was a nice little decline, and then I thought to myself, right, now is the time to go. I've got 2 miles, 2.1 miles or more. Probably at the time it's probably about 2.5 miles. I was thinking to myself, I've got 2.5 miles of not sprinting, but really pushing it, like an RPE 9. I've got 2.5 miles of that in me, left in the tank, and I might as well just empty it. So I just hit the afterburners, or the afterburners for me, and mile 12 was a 6:58, mile 13 was a 6:47. As I was running through the city, those last 2 miles, it seemed to me like everyone was running at the same pace apart from me. I literally took over everyone. And I could hear people clapping, hear people cheering my name, which kind of spurred me on even more, and made me love this event even more, to be fair. And I'm sure it is like that at other half marathons, but when you've not done an organised half marathon before, and then you come across an atmosphere like that, it just not overwhelms you, but it really kind of spurs you on. And I'm really grateful, like I said before, for the people of Cambridge to be doing that for not just me, but for everyone. It was so good, so cool. So I ended up finishing the race at a 6:38 minute per mile pace, which I am well happy with. Legs in good condition. I actually think I probably could have pushed on, done that pace for another, I was in a rhythm basically. I think I could probably have done that pace for another good couple of miles at least. And had I reined that pace back in, or maybe not gone quite as quick, maybe I think I could have pushed like 18 miles that day, maybe more with the adrenaline and that. Obviously you never know, but that is, what I was thinking. Finished the race, I was absolutely buzzing as I crossed the finish line, because I knew that I'd beaten my goal of 1:45. I didn't know where I was at because I hadn't looked at my watch for a little while, because I was just gunning it and I was in the zone, but I just knew I'd beaten 1:45 because all of my splits were way quicker than I thought than they should have been. So, and I looked at my watch, and Strava said 1 hour 40 and 33 seconds, and I was over the moon. I was so happy with that. And then I kind of was a bit disappointed that I didn't get a 1:39. So I don't know what that says about me, But my next half marathon, I'm going to go for a 1:35. So I haven't got a half marathon booked just yet. My next half marathon will be in half Ironman. I'm pretty confident I'm not going to hit a 1:35 half marathon after a 45-minute swim or an hour swim and a 3-hour bike ride. But I can aim for it. And in the meantime, I may get out on the roads here and rather than the trails and try and beat my PB, or try and get a new PB in the half marathon of 1:35. So failing that, until then, maybe later in the year I'll do another half marathon, but I'll definitely be returning to Cambridge next year to get a PB. Anyway, with that said, after the race, me and the family went to Nando's, got something to eat, and then we went home and I pretty much died on the sofa. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like my central nervous system had just been absolutely pulled out of my body and then run over by a bus. But I fueled afterwards as well as I fueled up to the race to make sure my recovery was good. I took the Monday off and then I was straight back into training on the Tuesday with 2 sessions. I had a lift on the Tuesday morning, which was upper body, and then I had a run on Tuesday evening. Or did I have a bike? Maybe I had a bike, I can't remember now. That was a few days ago. All in all, Cambridge Half Marathon was amazing. I'm glad I did it. It was the perfect benchmark for my fitness going into my next few events. I know that now that I've run a 1:40 half marathon, I can be confident that I can probably PB my high rocks coming up in about 8 weeks time, 8 weeks, beginning of May. So it's given me the confidence for that, and it's also given me the confidence that it's given me the feeling that I don't really need to be so worried about that last discipline of the half Ironman in June. I know my legs will carry me through, and particularly in those last few miles, I know adrenaline will carry me through, and the crowd will probably carry me through as well. So that's it for the video. Sorry if I've waffled for so long, and hopefully you're all still watching. If you are, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, because I do put up at least one video a week. It's usually to do with my Ironman training plan. Looking forward to October, how I'm training, things I'm doing. There's biking, there's running, there's lifting, there's swimming. I also put up I've just put up some Hyrox videos for everyone who's into Hyrox. So please subscribe to the channel, and that's it. Thank you very much for watching.